Hello lovely people, and thank you for joining me for another art video. Today I just wanted to do a little sketch in my sketchbook of a little seahorse. So I'm starting out using a stencil. I've actually never done this before. So I wanted to use my woodless watercolor pencils, but I couldn't find them anywhere. So I dug out my Inktense and just a sandpaper block that you use for graphite. Then I sprayed it with water, and this color, like its name implies, is incredibly intense. It was much more intense than I expected. So now I'm going through, because the right fronds all ended up exactly lined up, so I'm just elongating some of them so that it's a little less even. Some of the Inktense block broke off, and so I've got it in my palette now, and I'm just using it like regular watercolor paint. Oh, and I forgot to say, so I record with my phone camera, and I missed this whole bit because I accidentally just took a photo. So when I went to look at my video, I just had a little photo in my phone gallery and was like, yeah, that was silly. So I want to do just a yellow seahorse. I wanted to do something fantastical, like a little not normal, but I have this block where I try to make things look somewhat real. So I end up just kind of following the references pretty much and making it look somewhat real. So I'm pre-wetting the entire seahorse so I can do some wet on wet. This is a Musi sketchbook, and it does wet on wet really well. It's the 100% cotton one. It's fantastic. It's my favorite sketchbook, although I haven't used every sketchbook. So I'm using my Mission Gold watercolor paints because they're my new favorite, and I just love the palette. It's replaced my old palette, so it's been a very long time since I used my old paints, which is a little unfortunate because I had some favorites in there. This color is lemon yellow, and then I dug out some of my Daniel Smith quinacridone gold. This is the original quinacridone gold, not the new one that came out after the pigment disappeared. I was lucky enough to snatch up a couple of tubes, but it goes perfectly with this yellow. It's transparent and it's beautiful and glowy. So I did use masking fluid on a lot of the little stripes and ridges and bumps of the seahorse, because I figured that would be a lot easier than trying to either go over it with a gel pen later or paint around it. God forbid, there's no way. This color is a mixture of, what did I use? I think I used some of the Inktense color because of course I want some harmony. So I used some of the Inktense color and some of the Magello Mission Gold Red Brown, which I love that color. And it mixes well with like ultramarine blue to make a neutral. So I figured it would do a good job at toning down the Inktense and making a nice brown. And it did. Doing a little bit of wet on wet, but more like glazing, and then what's it called? I don't know, smoothing it out. I drew this with a pink colored pencil, and I didn't get to erase any of the lines because I had put masking fluid down and the eraser would have lifted the masking fluid. So the pink lines remain, and they kind of help actually because like on the left side of the seahorse and around its face, where there's supposed to be contrast with the blue on the outside, it kind of all blends together, and so that outline helps separate the two. And one thing that I did actually like, usually Inktense. I don't know if it still does this. These Inktense that I have are very old. I've had them for a long time. But one of the selling points of Inktense, if I remember correctly, was that once you wet it, if you go over it again with water, then it's kind of like there. It doesn't lift anymore. I'm finding that that's not really true. I don't know if I just am misremembering or maybe the formula has changed. But I bought Inktense pencils way back when they first came out. And I think that was one of the selling points of it. You put it down, wet it to use it like a watercolor pencil, but when it dries, it's permanent. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And the yellow is mixing with the blue spatter that's on the Seahorse body and making a green. And I'm actually really digging it. I think it looks really cool. And it's not super intense, so it's just subtle enough to add a little bit of color, but not ruin the aesthetic. And I really, really like the spatter effect of the Inktense. It seems a little fiddly, but I'm having a lot of fun. This brush that I'm using is a Joe Miller pseudo sable, so it's synthetic travel brush. I bought it, you know, Cheap Joe's kind of shut down a couple of months ago, and unfortunately I didn't really need any art supplies, so I didn't have an excuse to go nuts, but I did buy a couple of the Cheap Joe's watercolor brushes because I had always wanted them, but I never needed them. I don't go anywhere, really. I don't do plein air painting. So I had no excuse to buy them, but I figured, you know, now they're one of a kind. They don't exist anymore. They're gone. And so I bought two of the pseudo sable ones, which I really like. They have a really fantastic point and they feel really good to paint with. They hold water well. I'm not usually a fan of synthetic paintbrushes, but these ones are really nice and I really love the point on them. I bought a size 4 and a size 6, and then I also bought a size 8 Joe Miller Signature Series travel brush, the 50/50. These ones I think were actually discontinued before the site even shut down, but they just happened to have a few left and I was lucky enough to grab one. This one is synthetic sable mix and it also is really fantastic. It reminds me of the old Princeton 50/50 brushes that were only around for a very short time before they were discontinued. That 50/50 brush, I only have one, and it's one of my favorite brushes. And I periodically look on eBay to see if I can just find somebody selling off like their old 50/50s, and no, I can't find them anywhere. But the Joe Miller Signature Series one, it's really nice because it has a big handle. You know, usually the travel brushes, they kind of have slender handles. I mean, they're for traveling, but this one, Joe didn't care. He was like, this is what is going to make this brush great. I'm going to give it a big handle, and it is really fantastic. I wish I had cottoned onto them sooner and bought more sizes, but that's now one of my treasured possessions, these Cheap Joe brushes. Remembering, you know, a really great store. I mean, yeah, I know it's rebranded now and it's still kind of around, but it's not the same at all, is it? There's none of the products are there. There's just the American Journey paints, and there's not Kilimanjaro. But I never got to try the Kilimanjaro paper, and that's a bummer. So here I'm just adding some shading to the bubbles. I'm not gonna make you guys watch all of that, but it was just a mix of the Inktense turquoise, the red brown, that mixture, and then to make it a little more blue, I added some ultramarine blue. I'm adding some of the Inktense to these little fronds or spikes, whatever they're called, on the Seahorse, because in the references, some of the references that I looked at, they were glowing blue, which I thought was really pretty. It's actually what attracted me to the references. But these come out darker because I've got the pink colored pencil underneath, so it's definitely not glowing. I think it looks cool though, so that's quite all right. Sorry if you can see my hand shaking. I've said it before in another video, but it's just a side effect of one of the medications that I take, that it makes my hand shake. And yeah, it makes painting very hard sometimes when I'm trying to be precise. But the good thing about that is that it keeps me from trying to be too precise and too fiddly, which is one of that I'm trying to change about the way I paint. So the masking fluid that I used actually tore the paper, which I don't know if it's because I did the spattering on top. The masking fluid that I use is this Holbein masking ink. It's really good quality. I've been using it for years. Unfortunately, now in the US, it's about $25. So no matter how good it is, it's not worth that price. So I'm gonna go through and get a little fiddly and try to fix that and narrow some of the areas where the masking fluid was too thick. And I'm going to be sticking my head in the way of the camera because I need to get in close with my bad eyesight. I'm not going to record that part. I want to try to make this one spike on the Seahorse lighter than it already is, because I want it to stand out and contrast at least a little bit from this turquoise frond behind it. So I'm digging out my Caran d'Ache gouache, which is fun to say. Add it to these little dots. Does that help? No, doesn't really make any difference. You can't really tell. Okay, never mind. I add a little bit of white to the bubbles, and it doesn't really make any difference. It doesn't make them stand out much more, but it does cover up the pink colored pencil. So I think that helps a little bit. I'm gonna use this Caran d'Ache right from the tube. It's a little watery because I stick my brush right in it. It's also kind of yellow because I stuck my brush in it when it had yellow gouache on it. Overall, I think I'm really happy with this little sketch of my Seahorse. I think it turned out really well. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you liked it, please consider leaving a like and subscribe if you're interested in seeing more of my little watercolor videos. I will see you guys next time with whatever random thing I want to do next. Thanks for watching. Bye!